And welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
And I'm Ness. Happy Pride Month!
Hello, happy Pride, everybody.
It is about that time.
We just had to get through a sweaty couple of days.
Oh my god, it was
Ugh.
so hot. It was so gross. I couldn't move without sweating.
Yeah. Any activity, like 5 minutes in, I'm like, I need to lay down. And my dog was like right in the middle of the room, just like pancaked on the floor.
As he should. My
Yeah.
cats too. Unfortunately, I had to work yesterday, so I had to be out in the heat, and I had to work an
Mm,
event. So it's just a room full of
mm,
people. Ugh, icky.
mm-mm, mm-mm. And Nate's listening to this being like, "Oh, it's hot over there, huh?" I can't complain to that man about heat. He's always
No.
got a one up on me and I'm like, "You're right. It's way hotter over there."
Just not our fault.
Yeah. All right, and we have arrived at the Stanley Cup Finals, which I believe will take place on Wednesday. I was just looking at it this
Mhm.
morning. Before we get to any sort of feels as we approach the Stanley Cup final, we need to talk about the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. I didn't catch a whole lot of this series, but I did notice 7 minutes into the game five,
Mhm.
yes. There were two goals scored by the Oilers, and Jake Oettinger was pulled. And my first thought was, that's a choice. That's a choice in this elimination game. Pete DeBoer to replace him with Casey DeSmith. I mean, no shade to Casey DeSmith. I mean, obviously he's playing at the NHL level. So what do I know about playing hockey, right? But if you've got Jake Oettinger, who we know can turn up the heat, can get in there and help you win games, and I get it. This is a must-win game. Come on, this is a team sport, and if the Dallas Stars don't come in here and kill a penalty, stop I believe one of them was a one-on-one breakaway opportunity, whatever. If you're not coming in to help your goalie, and the choice is then to pull the goalie in a must-win game to replace him with someone who had not played for a month, because you've been riding on the back of Jake Oettinger in a must-win game. You pull him after those two goals against. I've just I don't know if I could say that. Well, you get paid the big bucks, so what do I know? But it is an interesting choice.
It is the wrong choice.
As we've seen here, yes, as we've seen here, because I didn't know that Jake Oettinger also let in those four other goals while he was on the bench.
Correct. Yes, it was all on him. He was the only problem that day. Um, this article you shared from The Athletic by Mark Lazarus basically called out DeBoer, saying like, um, you were wrong, and your comments after the game were also wrong. Like, how like when when that interview first like started circling the internet or whatever, everyone was like, what is he doing? Like, how are you just throwing your goalie under the bus like that? And then everyone's like, oh, he seems to have a reputation with goalies because he did this with Fleury as well when he was coaching the Golden Knights. And so of course, that that picture of Flurry with the sword going through him was circulating again. And then I saw someone Photoshop Ottinger with that same sword. Oh man, so silly. But yeah, it's crazy to me because like sure, there were the 2 goals were let in on the first 2 shots or whatever, but I feel like you have to have a little bit more faith in your goalies. Like, first of all, they weren't his fault. I didn't watch the game, but this is things I'm hearing. So they weren't like it's a team sport, right? It wasn't his fault. And you don't even give him an opportunity to like bounce back from that. Like I feel like a lot of goalies take it to well, they do take it to heart. And they would probably like someone like Oettinger who competes at a very high level would probably not have let any more goals in if maybe just one more. Like I think it would have been a closer game had he let him play and like redeem himself. And also, like, apparently Rantanen didn't do anything this playoffs after the Avs series. So, like, why don't you blame him? I didn't hear anything about Robertson. He scored like 1 goal. Listen, I don't know, man. Oh, and you know what else I was hearing? It's like, how is he throwing like these really good goalies under the bus, but he defended Jones with everything in him?
Yeah, I don't know, man. When I saw, well, first when I saw that he pulled him, and I'm like, well, I guess Pete DeBoer isn't playing around, but I don't necessarily know if he's choosing the right cards here. But hey, it's only the first period. We'll see what happens. And then we saw what happened. What I found most interesting, first off, when I was reading this article, was does this guy write fiction? Because he needs to, because this article starts out like it's so dramatic. And I was texting a friend of mine who, like, back in the day, we were really big into reading like sports manga, which essentially just have a more dramatic aspect to any sport. You're just like, wow, that's so ridiculous, but you're like get really into it because you're just like, this is ridiculous. And this is what it kind of reminded me of. I'm like, can Mark Lazarus start a hockey manga? Because I would read it. Let me just share the first paragraph here. Casey DeSmith, his legs already splayed out in the crease, was fighting with all he had. There was no way he was giving up on this play, no matter how many Edmonton Oiler bodies were converging on him. With Adam Henrique on the doorstep, DeSmith made a dramatic and downright ballistic move to stop him, flinging his left arm behind him for balance and furiously stabbing the right side of the crease with his right pad. His head was on a swivel, looking left and right and left. DeSmith was battling, man.
So good.
And,
The tone made it.
Yeah, it goes on. And the thing that was circulating after the loss, I'm going to just talk about that here. Well, first off, Robertson comes in and says it's unacceptable for us to hang him out there like that. As you said, in this point in the playoffs, like Mikko Rantanen is nowhere to be found. So DeBoer hardly absolved Oettinger after the game, with the Stars lost 6-3. In fact, he came awfully close to throwing him under the Oilers team bus. Quote, we had talked endlessly in the series about trying to play with the lead, and obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right now, DeBoer said. I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake. But the reality is, if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 of 7 games in Edmonton, and we give up 2 goals on 2 shots in an elimination game. So it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, but partly knowing that status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample size. So the blaring aspect of this paragraph that I kept going back to was that he says, quote, he's lost 6 of 7 games to Edmonton. I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't know we were watching the Dallas Oettingers out there. Damn. Well,
he's the only one, right? He's the only one.
Where was he on the rush? Where was he with the secondary assist? Jesus, Oettinger. Why are you sitting on the bench like that? Get out there. well, from what I'm gathering, like, unless Dallas feels like, and I don't feel like it's going to happen, but hey, surprise me. I'm figuring DeBoer still has years on his contract. He just kind of, the way he's talking kind of feels like he's like, yes, hit the door on my ass on my way out. But I just like, wow. And then I saw an interview with Jake getting asked questions from the media. And he kind of, I mean, he said it. I'm not surprised the way that he kind of answered it. He didn't directly address it, but he did say, it is my job. You're there to, stop pucks as a goalie. And he more or less, from what he said, he was like, to the reporter, like, you could be the coach out there and that mindset wouldn't change for me. So it almost kind of feels like he's like, oh, I don't give a shit about what he said. It's kind of,
Right.
he's like,
As he
whatever.
should.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed if my coach threw me under the bus like that. I wouldn't want to play for him anymore.
I'm trying to find the other like super dramatic paragraph, and there are quite a few of them here in this article. Um, ah, um, where do I start on this? He says, but he probably stops one of those, right? Or both, maybe even all three. He's one of the best goaltenders in the world, a clutch one at that. One who has historically gotten better as the game have gotten bigger, but we'll never know because DeBoer cut off his nose to spite his face. He tried to light a fire under the team, but instead set the whole season on fire.
It's good
Can
stuff,
I get
man.
paid to write hockey fan fiction? Because
Yes. You could write your own book. Oh man.
this is how I want to live the cup final. Please write more of this for me. This is how I want to experience it. Yeah, so I at the end of the day, I can't have all that much sympathy for a team that has won the cup in any amount of time since the Sharks have been in the NHL and the Stars have. So I'm like, that sucks for you, but also good luck, I guess.
I only cared about the team when they're up against a team I don't want to win, you know? Like other than that, it's like, yeah, whatever. The Oilers made it through. Which, by the way, I am really bored with how things are turning out in the hockey world right now. Because we got the same two teams in the finals again, and then yeah, like in PWHL, we got the same champions. Like, give me something new.
Mm-hmm.
Big yawn.
Speaking of the same teams in the Stanley Cup final, we've got another rematch: the Florida Panthers against the Edmonton Oilers. And how are we feeling about that? Do we care enough? I'm not feeling too. I don't know. I feel nothing.
I feel nothing. I don't want Florida to win again. I also don't want Edmonton to win. Specifically for one player, and I think you know
Mm-hmm.
who it is. Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would mind, like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl getting a cup. I would like they work hard for that. I was also wouldn't mind seeing Jake Walman getting a cup, former temporary Shark. He's a cool dude. Who I do mind, I will not name, but like he doesn't deserve a cup. Screw that guy. Also, like, okay, shout out to Elena, but like, yes, the Edmonton Oilers are using Pink Pony Club as their team song after every win or whatever. What a great song. Um, couldn't find anything about why they chose that song. The players aren't speaking on it, and they probably won't until the end of the season if they decide to. But it looks like media has been trying to get answers like, why choose this song? And like the players just give each other like these looks, like these little little side eyes, like, I'm not gonna say, but there's meaning behind it. And I want to know. Everyone wants to know. Why choose one of the gayest songs in existence?
So I didn't actually know the song at all, so I went to go look it up, and then there's this under a lyrics website that I went onto. It said about the song. It says this song is about a small town southern girl dreaming about the gay bar and drag club culture in West Hollywood, California. She dreams of being a dancer at the quote Pink Pony Club, a fictional gay bar drag club on Santa Monica Boulevard. She knows that her mom won't be pleased, but she wants to follow her dreams anyway. And this was according to an interview with Chappelle Ronan, who wrote the song after a night at the Abbey, a gay bar that is located just off of Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. So, what part of that speaks to you, Edmonton? Are you
um,
have fantasies about drag culture? Like, I don't know.
they're dreaming about the Stanley Cup in the way she was dreaming about the
Mm,
Pink Pony Club. That's the
mm.
only connection I can make.
I mean, we spoke about what a month ago. The NHL was using another of her songs, "The
Yes,
Giver," which
absolutely.
again, the
Happy
NHL
Pride Month. We're out here.
apparently
We're everywhere.
apparently maybe this is their silent message to us that we see you, you are valid, and if that's the case, we'll just go with that. That's the case. That's the reason
We're
why.
just giving the gays a shout out without trying to make a big deal about it, you know?
Hey, we're going to take a break to talk about our sponsor.
Who's that?
It's none other than DraftKings. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slap shot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. New to betting on the Stanley Cup playoffs? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick a team to win, lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. Here's the kicker. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets if your wager hits. That's right. Turn $5 into a playoff playout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. That's code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. In additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Copyright 2025 NHL. So you already know that we talked about just a bit ago who is in the Stanley Cup Finals. We're not of any help to you, nor should you take our advice about who you should bet on for this cup. But if anything, just like an exciting game, the passion runs high, especially around this time. And the DraftKings Sportsbook app shows that on Wednesday, the Panthers are a plus 110 and the Edmonton Oilers are a negative 130.
I have a
Place your
question for
bets.
you. before we move on to the next topic. Because I feel like a lot of times in this sport, a lot of announcers and whoever works in hockey is talking about, oh, the parody of the sport, you never know what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But like the past 10 years, I want to say, it's been like the same teams making it to the finals. Do you feel like it's all talk?
I don't know.
It's
I
just
have no
boring.
opinions.
Because it's not my
If
team,
that
you know. If it was the Sharks out there, yeah, absolutely, I'd be stoked. But other than that, it's like, well, I don't care about these teams. Get someone new in there.
well, if that's your jam, then more power to you. All right, we're moving on to our favorite team, starting with Mukhamadullin has been re-signed for 1 year contract of 1 million. So,
Ooh.
initial thoughts on that.
Why so short?
So, my initial thought was they're either unsure about because he hasn't really been able to be consistently healthy in his early career here, which is understandable to like give him a chance, but not try to immediately lock him in. And then also like it feels very similar to what he did with a number of other folks last season, where it's like, where he probably had a conversation with them being like, hey, we're invested in you. I'm going to give you this opportunity to show us that you are also committed and you can show us what you've got for the long haul with this incentive that you deliver in this upcoming season and you'll get the payout. He is going to be an RFA at the end of next season. So I guess I see the reasoning behind it that there isn't any real rush to like, let's lock him down when you still have retain his rights. He's going to be an RFA at the end of the season. So the 1 million is just the commitment to him in this upcoming season, and then he just needs to deliver, which I think he was doing all the right things that he needed to in this at the end of this last season. It's just really unfortunate that stupid what's his bucket on the Ducks, why does his name escape me right now? You know who I'm talking about. He had to go and shove him against the boards, and he ended up getting shoulder surgery at the end of the season. Couldn't help the Barracuda for their playoff run, which is just really shitty to see because he was doing so well. But I'm not too worried about it. I'm rooting for Mook. I know he can do it. He's been doing it. He just, I think if anything, he just needs to kind of get a little tougher out there on the ice. Like he's our little baby giraffe that he's just a delicate flower, and I think he needs to be more of a Venus flytrap.
Right. Love the analogy. He needs a little bit more bite into his playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
And in other Sharks news, there have been offers assessed to some of our up-and-coming players that have been doing some work with their respective clubs. The following players from the 2024 NHL Draft: Nate Miskey, currently playing with UMass. He was issued an offer. Colton Roberts, currently playing on the Vancouver Giants. Both of these guys play on defense. And then Carson Welch, who's
how do you Wets?
Welch, who is currently playing on the Kelowna Rockets in the WHL. So those are exciting players who, yes, staff is liking what they're seeing on their respective clubs, and they're committing to them to taking the next level. Unfortunately, there are a couple of players who will not be receiving offers, and that is Theo Jacobson and Evgeny Kashnikov. the former playing on forward and the other on defense. So haven't been following any of these guys terribly closely, but just names to kind of keep in mind as we move forward here with replenishing the pool and seeing more young guys coming into the mix. Shoot, I didn't put that article about Poturalski. Poturalski has decided that he wants to take up some offers with the KHL, and the Barracuda have mutually agreed to let him go. Thoughts on that?
It sucks because he was a great player for the CUDA. He won, I forgot what the award is called. We had mentioned this before, but he had won the award where he scored the most points in the league, I believe. I think 2 or 3 years in a row now. This is the first year he earned it with the CUDA. Like he was a big difference maker. He was a great veteran for all the younger guys. Like he was like an alternate captain, I believe, and teaching all the young guys like all the right things to do and why one of the big reasons why they made it to the playoffs this year. He says that there's no ill will or anything negative that he has to say about the organization. It's just something that he wants to try in his career because he is getting older and he hasn't had the opportunity to play for the NHL too much. I think he played like 1 or 2 games for the Sharks this past season, and he wishes he could like be given more opportunities, right? And I don't know, it's just a place in his life where he wants to play a little bit more. I don't know exactly like why, but something he wants to try out, and he says that he's leaving the door open to coming back to North America and possibly even coming back to the Sharks organization. So I don't feel terrible about it. It just sucks losing such a good player. Like we'll see what happens with the CUDA next season with, some of those young guys coming up to the Sharks, and then I don't know who Greer's gonna come and like replace those guys with and see how well they do next season. So I'm not mad about it. I'm like good for him chasing his what he feels he needs to do in his life.
Yeah, and just some back history with Poturalski. I mean, he's been mostly an AHL player throughout his career. He played a handful of seasons over at University of New Hampshire. Did quite fairly well over there. Then he moved over to the Hurricanes club, played a couple of games at the NHL level for them, but mostly spent his time down in their AHL Charlotte Checkers. He also wore the A in his last season with them, moved over to the Gulls, didn't really crack their lineup for the Ducks in 1920 through 2021, and then went back for a handful of games with the Hurricanes. Had a stick with the Kraken right before he came over to us. And this past season, he got 73 points. And then, he had a handful of games with us over at with the big club. And I mean, I guess this kind of it's not surprising to me, and I can definitely understand where he's coming from. A lot of what you've already kind of mentioned. He's an older guy, and by older we mean he's in his 30s. Oh man, he's super old. But for hockey standards, he's looking at the back end of his career. He's starting to have to think about what do I want to achieve before I'm coming into the latter half of my 30s. I mean, 40 is kind of anyone who plays beyond 40. It's like, wow, like, especially at the NHL level and in other leagues. I mean, I think Yager is still playing if I'm not mistaken. And that guy is just like, you do you, bro. But I mean, at the highest level of the game, I mean, of course, that's I believe like any professional hockey player's dream is to play at this level, and he's not quite happy with being down here in the AHL and just kind of getting a taste every so often. And like you already mentioned, it's no ill feelings towards the Barracuda. And I feel like, I mean, I'm not mad at the Barracuda for not fighting harder to. I mean, what are you going to do at this stage? Like, if he's, he got a handful of games, like 3 games with the Sharks, and that mostly came from injuries. Like, if more of our guys would have stayed healthy, I just don't know if he would have cracked the lineup. I mean, of course, 73 points in this past season. Like, of course, from just looking at points alone, it's upsetting to see, like, why are you giving this guy an opportunity? But then we've already kind of seen the movements that are being made at the Sharks level where, the trade deadline came along. We shipped away Jake Wallman, which was like this big, like, wait, what? Like, we've had more stability on defense with him. Like, what are you doing? But so I guess with that in mind, I'm not terribly surprised that a guy who's in his early 30s, who has mostly spent his time in the AHL, like, we know we're going towards a much younger squad. We know there are guys coming up through the pipeline who I think we're just going to be more invested in the long run, even if they don't have the experience so much to grind it out at the highest level of this game day in, day out. I think they're gonna get the tap on the shoulder more than a guy who, I mean, let's be honest, I think as this team continues to build on the talent to try to get it back into the playoffs, I don't see someone like a Poturalski cracking the top 2 lines. He is going to be fighting for a spot in the bottom 6. And then, his runway, not saying that he doesn't have, more great years ahead of him to play at the professional level. But when you've got these young guys knocking on the door, getting, coming up right on your heels, like, they have more runway. The ceiling is so much higher for these guys. And I think even if we're struggling to get wins, like, I feel like, of course, the expectation for next season is probably to get out of the basement and have the ambition to make the playoffs. I don't know if necessarily that is the goal, but the ambition will be there. And if you've got these young guys who are coming in, day out, hungry, I think they get the tap on the shoulder more times than someone who is on the latter half of their career, who has spent more time in the AHL and on these other teams before they came into the Sharks. Like, even the Kraken, like with the Hurricanes, I can understand a guy who has mostly spent his time in the AHL. Like, the Hurricanes have had so many talented players. Like, I can see a guy like Poturalski not being able to get a spot on a team like that. But with like the Kraken, who are still trying to like figure out their new identity after, the after their first season, and even his time with the Ducks, who were in their rebuild, like, if he's not being able to crack their lineups, I just really feel like teams that are rebuilding for the long haul, they're going to invest more into these young guys, even if they haven't quite gotten enough of the NHL experience under their belt. And it sucks to see someone like a Poturalski who has that drive, but I can't be upset about him deciding, hey, I want to see what's on the other side of the tracks, to get that experience, to see where that takes me, because he's kind of put in, like, the first 10 years of his pro hockey career into North American hockey, and he's gotten a handful of games in the NHL. He is kind of already seen what he can do here, and he hasn't exactly closed the chapter here. As you mentioned, the door is going to be open. They've already kind of expressed that. but I think it's fair for him to be like, hey, I just want to see what's over here and what I can do.
Yeah, can't blame the guy. He's done pretty much all he can out here.
Mm-hmm. All right. In non-Sharks news, as we've already alluded to early on, the PWHL finals have come to a close, and it is a back-to-back victory for the Minnesota Frost. And okay, fine. It's kind of how I feel about it.
Right. Again, I'm not like a super fan of any team right now. There's like I root for the Sirens. They're not doing so great right now. Is Minnesota, y'all won already. Y'all are just getting greedy. No, just kidding. I don't know. It is what it is. But good for them. Still have cute colors.
But in more PWHL news, the expansion draft is going to be happening here soon. Some key dates for the PWHL. The player protection list is due in a couple of days as we record on Sunday. It'll be due on Tuesday.
Yes.
Right in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then the signing window begins the following day up until the afternoon on June 8th. And then the expansion draft begins the following day after that on June 9th at 5:30 Pacific. I don't know a whole lot about the women's side in terms of the up and coming players, but if you're in the area of Seattle and Vancouver, you're going to want to check this out because they are going to be putting together your upcoming team.
Yeah.
And that's exciting for everyone out there or anyone who
Yeah.
wants to follow them.
So the expansion draft is already happening next week, next Monday. And then on June 24th, they'll be doing the draft for the NCAA and US sports players. From what I've seen, the people are kind of upset with how the expansion draft rules are going to play out for the women's league because I think it sounds like each team is only going to be allowed to protect about 6 players. So a lot of like they're pretty como se dice, like they're very good players are going to be exposed because they have very limited options of who they want to protect. And I mean, great for Seattle and Vancouver, obviously, because that means they're going to come into the league like ready to go and compete. But for these other teams that are, with already these existing fan bases, they might be upset that they're losing their favorite players or whatever. But I don't know. Again, I'm not like super attached to any team yet, so I'm excited to see what's gonna come of it.
I'm here for the chaos of it all. If
Absolutely,
they're not
same.
able to keep, their winning teams intact, well, hey,
That's on
we'll
you.
just yeah. I mean, if Minnesota is out here winning back to back Walter Cup finals, well, we'll see how you do next season after all this is said and done.
Yeah. Oh, okay. See, here it says the expansion draft will feature Seattle, Vancouver selecting a minimum of 7 players each until each has reached a 12-player roster. If one team enters the expansion draft with fewer signed players than the other, it will be granted additional selections to reach their 12. Players eligible to be selected in the expansion draft consist of unprotected players under the contract for the 2025-26 season for those whose playing rights are held through the 25-26 season. The order in which teams will make their selections will be determined at a later stage. Coverage details to be announced. So, I don't know. Only 12 players?
I guess that means they'll be able to sign other folks after the fact.
I guess.
Yeah. And finally, since it is Pride Month, I do want to talk about the Bay FC merch that's coming out
It's
for not
so cute.
It is not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday um, will be the Pride, Pride Night game. I'm just gonna share this cute merch.
I want it. I want them all.
So this is the hoodie if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, it's a white hoodie, and then it's got on the upper left hand side, it's got a rainbow, and underneath the rainbow it says Bay FC, and then on the back of it is a cute like mural-esque design. There's flowers in the upper left hand corner. There's some birds. The aesthetic of the uh, the design is orange. It looks like a very dark navy blue and yellow and white. And so in the center of it is a soccer ball with emphasis behind it and rainbow behind that.
It's supposed to be like the sun, or is just like one of those?
I
Like
guess,
they
yeah,
kick
a
the
little bit.
ball.
I It could be.
Oh,
It could be both. It could be both. And then in the lower left-hand corner, there's a simplistic drawing of the Golden Gate Bridge with some waves underneath it. On the right-hand side, there's a foot with soccer cleats on, and then underneath that it says Bay FC. So it's all kind of
I think
encased
that's the Bay
in.
Bridge.
Is it?
It would
Same
make sense.
difference. It's a bay. It's a
It's
bay
a bridge.
bridge. It's in the Golden Gate area. And then they have a bunch of different merch to choose from. They've got a tank top, they've got a shirt, they've got the rainbow with the Bay FC underneath it for the hat. Um,
I
I
want
do
the tank
want
top.
to I do want to mention the artist here. It's Orly Kay, is a San Francisco-based illustrator, printmaker, and muralist. Born and raised in the South Bay, her work explores the natural surroundings she grew up enjoying around the Bay Area. As a queer artist and proud Bay FC fan, this Pride collaboration is a celebration of beauty and resilience of the 2S LGBTQAI plus community, both on and off the pitch. So
AI.
really
No, I'm
cute.
just kidding.
No, 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 no. Not that AI. Yeah.
So I found some interesting. You mentioned that their Pride game is this coming Saturday, June 7th. The
The
A's.
one, not this upcoming Saturday, the Saturday after.
What? I'm looking at their scheduled thing right now. It says Saturday, June 7th. It's a.
Oh, you know what? My bad. I was thinking of the other thing I have going on Saturday. Haha.
What's
Pay no
happening?
attention to me.
Uh,
So it is
okay.
this Saturday.
June 7th. The Giants and the A's are also having their Pride games this Saturday. Like, I kind of wish that they would, like, spread them out. Like, have one game a weekend so that people can attend them if they want to.
You let them
That,
know.
I will make calls. No, I won't.
Well, we all know which one I'm going to, so.
Yeah, well, you're season ticket holders, so yeah. Dang.
One of these days, I will get that Pride themed San Francisco Giants hat. My friend went to that game, well, went around that time to try and get me a hat. And they're all sold out, which on one hand is great to hear, but the other hand, I wanted one. So
You missed out. You gotta
what
be quicker than
about
that.
me?
Yeah, so this morning I woke up to seeing a bunch of posts, a lot of teams and leagues and whatever doing their happy pride posts. Uh, and it feels like every year it becomes less and less positive and all the comments I was actually surprised to see how many men were commenting on the women's sports teams accounts because before when it was mostly women paying attention to women's sports it seemed like pretty positive vibes down there in the comments. This year, because they've grown and there's more men following these teams, It feels like there's a lot more hate in those comments, which really sucks. And so I think we found the problem. It's men. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's like, what is the post doing to you? It just says, let's celebrate these peoples who love who they love. Let us trying to live our lives, whatever. Why do you have to comment? Scroll, mind your business. Keep scrolling.
To add some positivity to all the unfortunate that is happening. I don't know if you had noticed it this past week. I was like kind of keeping up with it a little bit. There's some hate that's trying to make its way into California, and our governor is not being as supportive as he apparently used to be, which that's a whole nother topic. But all this to say that there is some annoyingness happening at the trans youth level, at the sports competition. I don't know how it got started. All I know is the most important thing out of it all was, despite legislation or groups that are trying to come in here and disrupt trans lives, especially at the youth level, where it's like, just let them play. Literally just let them play, they try to come in for this track and field finals that happened in Central California this at some point during this week, and it was all centered around this trans athlete, AB Hernandez. They were, from what I understood, the group involved in putting together this event, they had last minute decided to change the rules or the way things played out, so that if she beat out anybody for placement, that the person that she beat or whatever would automatically get the same place that she would, basically like she didn't even compete. Which I just don't understand how any of that works and why we're even bothering. Just let the kids play. But yesterday I came across an article that showed that when it was all said and done, she did place first in I believe 2 categories, and the women that joined her on the podium, they posed for photos, they embrace, and I think that is the best outcome here for all of this noise that has been happening in our state. And I just want to show this picture here for the folks that are watching on YouTube, and then for the folks that are listening to us. Essentially, as I mentioned, it is a photo of let's see who it's Brooke White and AB Hernandez right here in the middle of the photo. They both won first place, and they're celebrating together. They're taking photos together. They're happy to have competed with one another. And at the end of the day, that's just kind of all it's about. It's just about celebrating each other, not getting into all of this like noise of, oh, we need to protect women in sports. It's like, they're doing fine. They're happy. They're great together. No worries here. So
Creating problems where there are no problems.
there's no problems here. Everyone's doing great. There was another photo. It's not on this article. But anyways, if you want to know more about that, go check out that story. I'm happy from what I saw from this, from all of this, that I believe it ultimately was a happy turnout. There were some protesters, as there always are, but people were rooting for everybody out there, and the folks within the competition were happy for one another. And at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Just supportive competition out there, and ignore all the noise.
Right. It's a lot, man. Like it's sometimes it's hard to stay positive. Well, for the podcast, we'll stay positive.
I'm positive.
You're
I was happy to
positive,
see I was happy to see this because I saw this all this noise earlier in the week, and I was just kind of sitting there and being like, I don't know what I can do
right?
outside of trying to stay aware and, not just going about my day like nothing's happening, but it really brought a smile to me to see that these athletes were embracing each other and celebrating that everyone did a great job during that track and field competition. And like I said, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Yep. So that is it for us this week. Next week, I mean, well, I guess we'll see what happens with the Stanley Cup Finals, and I mean, honestly, let's be real here. We are anticipating the draft at the end of this month, and that's kind of what we're looking forward to. We want to know we want some more Sharks news. So if the Barracuda and the San Jose Sharks can give us some more stuff to consume in the next couple of weeks, that would be amazing. Other than that, if you're a fan of the Panthers and the Oilers, good for you.
We don't care, but good for you.
And yep, so that is all for us today here on Over the Glass. If you liked what we talked about today, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe to our channel. It just really helps us to be seen by more folks. And if you can put a review wherever you listen to us,
Only positive
that would be
ones, though.
helpful.
We don't accept negative ones. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So I've been your host, Jay.
And I'm Ness. Catch y'all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.